People think muscle is just all about aesthetics, and sure, right, it plays a role there, but honestly, that's probably the least interesting thing it does. What muscle actually does under the hood for your brain, your metabolism, your hormones, your long-term health, that's a completely different conversation. And that's what I want to get into today because I think most people are seriously undermining the value and benefit that developing functional muscle tissue can have on their performance. And when I say performance, I don't just mean going to the gym, right? I mean how you think, how you recover, how your body handles stress, how much energy you actually have at the end of a long day. All of that is connected to this. Most people treat muscle like it's a cosmetic goal. You build it if you want to look a certain way, and if that's not a priority, you kind of just skip it altogether. But that framing misses almost everything that actually matters about it, because underneath the surface, muscle is an active tissue. It's doing things constantly, right? It's communicating with your brain, influencing your hormones, driving your metabolism. It's not just sitting there making you look a certain way. So let me break down what it's actually doing and why it should probably be one of the first things you start taking seriously. First, your brain. There's a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it as fertilizer for your brain. It promotes the growth of new hormones, sharpens memory, improves learning, and protects against cognitive decline over time. And one of the most powerful ways to trigger its release is resistance training. When you're lifting, when you're actually building muscle, your brain is getting a direct benefit from that session in real time. But of course, there's more to this. Muscle tissue releases signaling molecules called myokines when it contracts. These molecules travel through the bloodstream and actively reduce neural inflammation, which is one of the main drivers of brain fog, mental fatigue, and that feeling where your thinking just feels slow and heavy throughout the day. The mental clarity you want at 3 p.m., a lot of it lives in how much functional muscle you're carrying and how consistently you are training it. Now let's talk about the metabolic piece to all of this, and it's very important here, right? Muscle is metabolically expensive tissue to actually maintain. Your body burns calories just to keep it. Every pound of muscle you carry raises your resting metabolic rate, how many calories you are burning at rest, just existing rather than someone with less muscle mass. And what that creates is a larger caloric window. You're not stuck surviving on 1,600 calories trying to stay lean. You're not having to white knuckle a restrictive diet that tanks your energy and makes every social dinner a stress event. You can eat enough to feel good, perform well, sleep well, and still be in a place where your body composition is moving in the right direction because your baseline metabolism is higher. That's the difference between dieting your way to a lower weight and building your way to a lean physique long term. One is fragile, miserable, and falls apart the second life gets busy or chaotic, but the other is sustainable because the system actually supports you and your life around it. For someone who travels, has client dinners, deals with high stress environments where perfect eating just isn't always realistic, having a higher resting metabolic rate is sort of a buffer. It gives you a margin. A meal out doesn't spiral into a setback because your body is equipped to actually handle it. Muscle buys you that flexibility. Here's something most people in their 40s don't know about and honestly should, right? Starting in your mid-30s, your body begins naturally losing muscle mass, somewhere between 3 and 8% per decade. After 60, that rate accelerates dramatically. This process has a name, which is sarcopenia. And sarcopenia doesn't just mean you get weaker over time. It means your insulin sensitivity drops, your body becomes less efficient at managing blood sugar, which directly affects your energy stability and how clearly you can think. It means your cortisol tends to rise, testosterone tends to fall, and your resting metabolism slows year after year. It's also one of the strongest predictors of all-cause mortality we have in midlife research. Not cardiovascular disease, not weight, muscle mass. And the one thing that makes it difficult is that it's slow. You don't notice it happening in real time. You just gradually adapt to running at a lower power output. And then at some point, you convince yourself that this is just what getting older feels like. That the energy dip is just normal. That the body you have now is just the natural result of time passing. It's not. That's muscle loss that went unaddressed. And it's almost entirely preventable and reversible with the right stimulus and structure. The evidence on this is really clear. Resistance training is the single most effective intervention we have for stopping sarcopenia. Not supplements, not any particular diet, consistently building and maintaining muscle tissue. One more thing I want to tie together, muscle mass has a direct relationship with your hormonal health. Testosterone and muscle have a bi-directional connection. You need it to build muscle, and building muscle supports healthy testosterone output. They both work together. For men in their 40s and beyond, maintaining muscle mass is one of the most natural, evidence-backed ways to keep your hormonal profile where it actually should be. And sleep, this one surprises everybody, right? Resistance training measurably improves sleep quality, specifically increasing slow wave deep sleep. That's the stage where your body releases growth hormone, where memory consolidation happens, where your nervous system actually resets. Better deep sleep means better recovery, sharper thinking that next day, and more energy. It's a compounding cycle over time. So when I say muscle is foundational, this is exactly what I mean. You fix this one thing, and it creates a positive chain reaction through your metabolism, your hormones, your cognition, your sleep, and your long-term health trajectory. You've spent years getting really good at building systems that work. Your business runs on structure. Your decisions are deliberate. Your body responds to that same approach. The goal isn't to just look like an athlete. The goal is to function like one, to have the energy, the clarity, the physical output that matches the life you've actually built for yourself. And it starts with taking muscle mass seriously, not as an aesthetic goal, as a health system.